are live. How we doing, Mets fans? Spam those W's in the chat right effing now. A Metropolitan victory like never before. For the first time and potentially since 1985, the Mets win a ball game against the Atlanta Braves with this lopsided of a deficit. I do not care that it is April 11th here. It is a massive victory, a massive series victory that we're going to break down for you every step of the way in the WardyNYM post-game show. Let's spam those W's in the live chat. Everyone watching on YouTube right now, everyone watching on Twitter, same applies, folks. And we're under 20 subs away from 25K on the channel, folks. Let's hit it today. Let's do a massive giveaway on the channel next week. I'm feeling absolutely electric. I am juiced up after a Metropolitan victory like this. The Mets came out swinging early and often from Jeff McNeil. Jeff McHit's the best game by far we've had from him all season long. Brett the effing Met looking great defensively, offensively. Starling Marte, the two-hole, looking like that is a recipe for potential success after all right now. And you're getting production from the guys that you want production from that maybe you weren't getting previous days. DJ Stewart is loving playing in Hotlanta. Another big bomb we saw. Tyrone Taylor, a grand salami off of his not former teammate, but you know, a former Met, and Luis Guillorme in the ninth. You got the Braves rolling over. That is how good of a win this was for the Mets. And before anyone, and I mean anyone, has the audacity to downplay this victory and say, oh, congratulations on your World Series, that's fine. Again, us Mets fans have been dying for good, entertaining baseball like this. It has been so long since we have had this kind of production from our offense, since we have had exciting baseball. All of last season, we had nothing of that. This means a lot for us Mets fans, for a team with lesser expectations heading into the season, and they came out, and for the Braves fans saying, oh, you beat up on a schmuck pitching, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure the Mets had your previous schmuck and Julio Teheran on the bump 48 to 72 hours ago, and we still won that ball game. Adrian Hauser gave up a 5-piece. The Mets were down 6-0 a couple days ago, and we only lost by 1 run. I don't want to hear the nonsense from Braves fans in this one that, oh, you had it easy because of the pitching. Your pitching was dog shit. Your defense was just as bad. No fundies in Hotlanta today if you're a Brave or a Braves fan for that matter, but things went in the right direction. The Mets were barreling baseballs, hitting off tees left and right. It was batting practice there in Hotlanta as they took advantage of the 40-minute rain delay, didn't let it phase them while it looked like the rest of the Braves lineup was there sleeping for a good portion of time. So, again, we're going to get into this, but I'm absolutely pumped up. I'm feeling freaking electric after a win like this, folks, and it just feels so good. It feels so good for the Mets to come out with this type of dub the way that they did. Again, we're gonna go through all the stats. We're gonna break down the game inning by inning as we always do. You see the highlights there, everybody. But before I get into deeper in the show, let's hear our famous WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's get into this one. All right, folks, the only question now, I see someone in the chat already with it, are the New York Mets for real? All I know is that this series dub was very much real, and it was a Mets team that got up early and often, took advantage of the defensive mishaps we saw there by the Atlanta Braves, took advantage of the meatballs thrown by Winans today there for the Braves. The Mets did what they needed to do. Love you too, Mama Worm. How you doing? Appreciate everyone first chiming in live on a replay, folks. ICD, Brandall, Professional Certified Hater, Farhan, Peter, PK, Luis, everybody and their mother down the list here. Timothy, great member and supporter, longtime friend. How you doing? Who is this team? Yoshima with the $2 holla says, felt so good. I was beaming ear to ear every second, guys. We're absolutely pumped up. We're juiced up. What a day, folks. What an effing day. Scully, great member. James, great member. James Carroll, who's in the live chat, folks, right now, everybody. James was in attendance at Citi Field to witness this masterclass in person for himself. It doesn't get much better than that, James, right? He had to be absolutely electric after this type of game, and for the Mets to come out and again get the dub in the way that they did, Oh, such a great feeling. Such a great feeling. What? The Mets had themselves a total of 16 hits to the Braves 10, a 339 expected batting average 2. The Mets just were non-stop today. And it wasn't like, oh, they had luck on their side. Maybe Orlando Arcia, you could try defensively, and that error wouldn't have happened. That increased the Mets' lead later on in the ballgame. The same schmuck that was doing the faces, the Phillies fans, when the Braves imploded the way that they did for a second straight year against the Philadelphia Phillies. But I digress. Let's start to break down this ball game, guys. I'm so pumped up. What a victory. What a vibe. Happy Thursday. I'm sorry, is today Thursday or Friday? I keep getting my days confused. It's Thursday. This feels like an early weekend for me, though. I don't know about you, but this dub feels so good. Enlighten me, everybody. Out of all the Mets games that we've seen since the second half of the 2022 season, after that 4-game set against the Atlanta Braves where Jacob deGrom pitched in one of the games of the doubleheader, Mets won 3 of 4 of that series if they didn't sweep, because I'm honestly blanking on that front. Since that time point, so we're talking a year and a half, have we seen a Mets game this good? Have we seen a Mets series this good? Even their loss was much better than you initially thought it was going to be, with the way that they were initially down 6-0 with Hauser on the bump. Then we saw there Nunez gave up that 1 run, even though it was poor defense behind him. And then we find out that the Mets come back and rally and just fall short 6-5. Let's effing go, Wardy. Chop on, losers. Absolutely. Tingus Pingus with the $5 holla. Thank you so much, Tingus. Greatly appreciate that. But I'm sweating bullets. That means that it's time for me to break down this ball game, because what transpired in this one, folks, right? Who is Wardy's player of the game? Well, I don't have an official player of the game graphic made, but I will share with you all at the end who my pick is and a honorable mention, if at all. Want to make sure we're all set up. Let's talk about it, everybody. What a fantastic showing. As we saw, Kodai Senga yesterday was placed on the 60-day IL. The soonest he can pitch on the bump for the Mets is at the end of May. Do not anticipate Senga back until sometime in June or absolute latest July, but hopefully in June we can get Senga back. This was always going to happen with him. It was retroactive as well. Gives the Mets an open roster spot in the meantime. It sucks, but again, this is something that we weren't overly shocked by. At least I certainly wasn't to see happen. Senga's continuing to progress. There hasn't been any reported setbacks from what we've heard at this point. So barring any changes on that front, again, Senga, the earliest he can return is the end of May, sometime in June. So hopefully June is when we will see Kodai Senga finally on the bump for the Mets here. Last week was unnecessary. This team was bound to break out eventually. Oh, 100%. And that's why, as I tell everybody, I have my short-term reaction, my irrational reaction, and my long-term reaction. I break it down every game. It's okay to have your short-term emotions while also not losing the grasp of the team as a whole. And when you lose that, that's where, again, you find yourself as more of a fan that's too focused on the highs and the lows and not the big picture throughout a 162. Today, however, I think it's very valid to have the reactions we're having. The Mets are 2 games below 500. Things could be so much worse for them this season. This away trip was a godsend for them, funny enough. Who knew that after leaving Citi Field for the first 2 series, going, almost 0-6 throughout that stretch, to go in Cincy, you take 2 out of 3 there, to then come back into Atlanta against the big bad Braves and take 2 out of 3. Yes, the final game of this 4-game set has been pushed to late in September, I believe, when the Mets and the Braves match up then, and that's fine. The Mets take 2 out of 3 in impressive fashions, entertaining fashions, easily, without question, the best baseball I've seen from the Mets in quite a long time. Easily since I feel like the halfway point of the 2022 season. So much fun. We're having an absolute blast. Your AZ with the $5 holla says, see any good baseball games lately? Yeah, just this one, Eamon Sr., just a little bit. What a win. The Mets absolutely dismantling the Braves and winning the series. Brett the Met Beatty is a grown man, LFGM. He is a grown man, and he is looking fantastic and better as each passing day goes on at the hot corner. But everybody, it's enough of me ranting. Let's break down the game inning by inning, especially for my replay viewers. I know that's what you're here for, aside from my immediate reaction, just drooling over the fact that the Mets had such a big dub. But the game, of course, starts in the first inning, everybody. And we got Alan Winans, who was on the bump there for the Braves. This goes in hand with Spencer Strider now being down with injury. They, of course, are just trying to fill that rotation spot there, if I'm not mistaken. And Winans gets barreled, and he stays in there. Got to give credit where credit's due. Had anything but a good outing today for the Braves, but was able to eat some innings for them. And again, not going to say he kept them in the ball game, but he certainly helped us amazing today, because in the first, what started Starling Marte batting second today for a second consecutive game. Marte gets a walk. Pete Alonso with an infield single right after. And then Brett Baty does what Brett Baty does, and he drives baseballs, this time going oppo for an RBI single. Brett Baty's final line today, folks, after another great day, is batting .311 with a .732 OPS. The power will get up. We know that. That's still something he's working on. But between his contact ability and also clutching up early and often for the Mets in these situations, right in the heart of their lineup has been tremendous to see. And then you add the plus defense that we've been having. I appreciate that, Neil. Thank you so much. To my respectful Braves fans that are here no matter what, you guys are absolute beauties. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I made a BetUS wager on a Tyrone Grand Slam off Yorbe. I'm sure you did. Appreciate that. If for some reason, if you actually did, thanks SportsBay, you saved my life. I can smell the sarcasm here. But regardless, though, I appreciate the support as always. And speaking of sports betting, everybody, shout out to my amazing sponsor, as always, at BetUS. One final thing I have to say before we get into the big portion of today's show, because you all are going to want to hear this. This is not the typical, what I'm going to talk to you guys about breaking down bets as we do in our usual shows. And of course, BetUS has you covered by clicking the link down below. That way you too get 125% bonus for your first 3 deposits on all your sports betting needs. But right now, BetUS is running this insane promo. They're hiring a wiener connoisseur. Yes, you heard that correctly, folks. I am not bluffing. Right now, if you are a hot dog lover, if you love going to the ballpark and eating those Franks, if you feel really strongly about your hot dog opinions of what the best and biggest wieners are at ballparks, and yes, you heard that wording correctly, then you might just be ready to sign up here at BetUS. Apply today for your chance to have full coverage to attend every single ballpark in Major League Baseball, and you got to check the length, the diameter, the weight, and the price of that hot dog. You got to find the biggest hot dog in Major League Baseball, and as a thank you, you're going to get $25,000 in cash, $500 gift card at MLB Shop gift card, and you're going to get a 1 year of free MLB TV subscription. I am not lying, folks. This is not your typical sports betting promo here. This is the most fantastic thing I've ever seen. You want to go to all the ballparks in Major League Baseball, all expenses paid for, literally covering travel expenses and tickets for games. Do you not understand how insane this is? I'm applying myself, and you should too. Link is down below, folks, for you to apply today. Yes, you heard this correctly. You go to every single ballpark in Major League Baseball. You are literally paid potentially $2,500, a $1,500 gift card, and an MLB TV subscription for the year by literally traveling everywhere, expenses paid, and finding the biggest wiener in all ballparks in Major League Baseball. So if you're a hot dog eater, which I know many of you guys and gals are, click the link down below. Apply today. All you got to do is put your name, email, state, and why they should pick you as their wiener connoisseur. Do you have better taste buds than the next guy? Do you feel like you have the best taste buds when it comes to evaluating the best wiener ballparks? If that is you, click the link down below today. As always, shout out BetUS, who has you covered with all your sports betting needs. I cannot get enough of what this promo is they got going on right now. And honestly, I would even consider promoting it even if I wasn't actively working with them. That is how much I love this so much. Shout out BetUS as always, folks. But now let's get back into this one. Also, apologies in advance. My intro and the jingle might run for a solid second or two when I switch back to my main slide. So if that does happen, just fair warning, everybody. Just make sure you lower your volume for the next 2 seconds before I switch it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Gonna switch it now. Fair warning. And let's get muted. Let's get all that taken care of, and we're good to go. Pat Benson, thank you so much for the $5 haul. Pat says, these are the moments in life that make it worth living. 100%, especially after a big game like this. Glizzy testing, though, 100%. My ex would... You guys are killing me in the chat. James, hey, the right one. I'm never going to say no. Never going to say no on that front. You guys are killing me. You really are. But let's break down the ball game more, folks. Brett Baty gets the game started, as I mentioned, with a 1-0 lead in the first. In the bottom of the first, Jose Quintana with a 1-2-3 first. Let's see. Wardy, I missed a donut. My apologies, certified hater. Let me go back and check that real quick. I was too pumped up talking about these glizzies, I feel like. Notice how there are no Braves fans in here. There are a few, but not a lot. I appreciate that donation, certified hater. Absolute beauty. Really does mean a lot, folks. But as we get to the second after the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Jose Quintana with easy work in the first. In the second, Jeff McNeil gets on via walk. Then we have 2 outs. Brandon Nimmo continues to rake and do his best Bonds impression, either going gap to gap or home run in this series. This time with an RBI double. Michael Harris misses the catch because he is not my center fielder. Brandon Nimmo every day of the week and on Sundays over Harris. Then we're going to get Marte with an RBI and an error because Arcia with terrible footing, only one hand down for the pickup. Just a lazy ass play by an Orlando Arcia that is as controversial as ever. And again, even Braves fans are turning on him in certain aspects with the great offense he's had. It's plays like that it's like, what are you doing, dude? But the Mets took advantage of the opportunity. I'm not going to front there whatsoever. The Mets are up 3-0 at this point, folks, here in the second inning. And as we then get to the third, after another clean work by Jose Quintana, aside from a Ozuna walk, Pete Alonso with a single. After that single, we'll get Francisco Alvarez with an RBI double. Jeff McNeil with an RBI double. Jeff wants in on the action. McHits, no McDoubles is what we're ordering today, with a side of fries, of course. DJ Stewart then says, you know what? I am loving Hotlanta. I am barreling baseball so good in Hotlanta. Throw me down. See what happens. Down the zone. Rips it to right. It's a 2-run shot without the game feeling like it even truly began. In a blink of an eye, the Mets finally took advantage early. They have a whopping 7-0 lead through the first 3 innings of Major League Baseball today. I'm going to be honest, I do not remember the last time the Mets have had any type of lead remotely close to this within the first couple innings of a game. I'd have to imagine that if it did happen last, it had to have been sometime in the 2022 season. I know that the Mets had some high-scoring games in the first half, but a lot of those felt like rallies too. So I genuinely have no clue when that happened last, where the Mets scored 7 through their first 3. But they did it today, and they did it so good. Again, the offense was early, and it was often, everybody. Look at this lineup with me. Look at it. Ignore the Zach Short there at second base. Not second base. Shortstop. He came in as a late replacement for Lindor. Lindor didn't even have... Lindor had 1 hit today. He was 1 for 6, so it's not even like it matters much there. But just look at this beautiful offensive showing by the Metropolitans. Brandon Nimmo, of course, was pulled for... Tyrone Taylor later on in the ball game. Nimmo, of course, 2 for 5 with the 2 runs and the big double and the triple that we'll get into here shortly. But just a lot of awesome offensive production, to say the least. I'm loving every single part of it that we saw in this ball game. Again, from start to finish, the Mets were relentless, okay? So as we advance further in this ball game, after the Mets have a 7-0 lead, we then get down to the 6th inning because not much happens prior. Jose Quintana, as we know, in his second to final inning, got himself into a jam, got out of it though, and then we saw there in the 6th inning, got one out, and then there was one guy getting on base there for the Braves, which was Ozuna via single. Drew Smith comes in the 6th and gets the final outs there. Jose Quintana's final line, everybody. I would have loved to see him go a full 6 today. He ended at 100 pitches there in 5.1 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned run ball, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 3.45 ERA. If you push away the fact that you're getting not much length from Jose Quintana right now, what you are still getting is production. And this is the kind of Jose Quintana I feel like you can expect for the majority of the season. Again, not an ace caliber pitcher for you, but definitely a guy that can still get you quality outs and handled an Atlanta Braves lineup much better than what we've seen other great starters in Major League Baseball do. So Quintana goes 5.1 for you. Drew Smith continues his scoreless streak. He has looked like a revelation, truly a man that, while he's not horned up talking to models, might just be an impactful reliever for this Mets bullpen. 1.2 shy today, including 2 strikeouts that we saw. And then the grizzled vet of a minor league pitcher in Southpaw, Tyler J, just a week away from his 30th birthday, was called up as the Mets sent down Nunez yesterday because Nunez will not be pitching for the remainder of the series. They bring up J, who has yet to make his major league debut, and he gives the Mets 2 innings of 1 earned run ball. I'm taking that every single day of the week if I'm the Mets here. And on the offensive end for the Mets, things would increase there in the 7th inning with not 1, not 2, but 3 runs. And this is all thanks to starting with Starling Marte with a single and a stolen base there in the 7th. Lindor then reaches on an error. Pete Alonso reaches via walk. Francisco Alvarez with an RBI ground out initially with 1 out, bases loaded. So with 2 outs, Still a bunch of guys on base. Jeff McNeil comes through with a 2-run single. His 3 RBIs now on the day. Clutch 2-out hitting. Loving seeing the approach from McNeil today. Not swinging for the fences every single time. This is the Jeff that we need to see in this lineup. If it isn't for Jeff McNeil today, the Mets don't have nearly as much offensive production. Even though they hit well, Jeff McNeil, in my opinion, was one of the key standouts in today's outing for the Metropolitans. And I cannot say enough great things about how his approach looked today for the most part. This is the McNeil we have been wanting. This is the McNeil we have been dying for. The McHits that will give you 2 to 3 hits every single night, an RBI or 2, right? In those clutch situations with guys on base, even with 2 out, just put the ball in play, get it out of the infield. Do not have it be a dribbler down to first base that we have seen what feels like every single day a week the past calendar year. Not the case with McNeil today. Fantastic approach at the plate. While Lindor is still definitely going through his fair share of struggles, you really can't say the same with everyone else in this lineup. Pete Alonso, again, his ability to get on base at a good clip today too was nice. Just a lot of great production 1 through 9 in the lineup as a whole today, everybody. And that's why I want to know, folks, out of this huge 16-4 victory, even though we haven't finished breaking it down yet, I gotta ask, who is your biggest standout of the game? Who do you like most and why? Let me know in the live chat. How this team continues to hook me back in. Aiden, you said it best. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in, right? I'm doing my best Al Pacino impression. If you know, you know. But it happens. It really does. Why do we got salty fans in the chat? If there's salty fans in the chat, it's probably because you're a Braves fan. I don't know what else is happening if there's salty fans. If there is, enlighten me on what I did to ruffle some feathers. I would love to hear it as always. But as always, folks, continue to smash that like and subscribe button as your first chime in as we live react and break down together the latest Metropolitan victory, taking down the Hotlanta Braves in Hotlanta with ease by a final score of 16-4. It was headlined by, again, Jeff McNeil's great heroics offensively today. Brandon Nimmo going gap to gap again, and Brandon Nimmo again, the production would continue with Brandon, because as we get to the top of the 8th, everybody, Harrison Bader with a single, and this is coming off of, at this point in the 8th, Tyler Matzik, who is not good. I'm sorry. I've felt this way for a while. Since Matzik gave up, pretty much sold his soul in the 2021 playoffs for the Atlanta Braves, that man has not been the same since. And Tyler Matzik today, after the Mets beat up on him earlier in the series, they did more of the same again before Crazy saying, okay, sounds good regarding that. Okay. Never mind, folks. I was just double checking something real quick. But as we advance further in the ballgame, folks, Tyler Matzik's on again. Lefty there. We see not a problem there. Harrison Bader gets on, righty against lefty. He's looked great. We know that his splits tell that over the past year and a half. Brandon Nimmo, lefty on lefty, not a problem whatsoever. Opposite RBI triple for Brandon Nimmo, drives in another run. The Mets are just looking silly with the lead at this point. Oh yeah, another run comes in on a wild pitch, and then Marte with a single. So as we then head to the 9th inning, the Mets are up with a fairly comfortable lead of 12-4, and they say, you know what, why stop there? Let's just stat pad while we still can. Luis Gourmet, the magician that we all know of and have loved and coveted during his time in Queens, now in his first year with the Atlanta Braves, has yet to have any type of pinch hitting role. They throw him out there for his first appearance of the season as a not pinch, but as a reliever to pretty much wave the white flag against the Mets that we see there in the 9th inning. Of course, the Mets get on base. Bases loaded, less than 2 outs, and Tyrone Taylor takes him deep for a grand slam. I'm taking that stat padding every day of the week. You love to see it. Tyrone Taylor now with a 300 average and an 831 OPS on the season. Shh, they don't need to know how you got it. They just need to see the stats, baby. That's what we like to see. Tyrone Taylor opens the floodgates like no tomorrow. At this point, you're wondering, will the Mets get to the 20 mark like our hearts were broken a couple years ago and saw the Braves do to us? This is pretty much finally a revenge game. How many games have we seen in Atlanta the past couple of years, folks, where the Mets have been absolutely decimated or they have lost in truly heartbreaking fashion? I have lost years off my life more than likely after freaking out to these horrific Mets losses that we have seen in Atlanta the past 2.5 years. This is a series that they have been dying for. The Mets have not won a series against the Braves like this comfortably in a very long period of time. This was nothing short of fantastic. From the bullpen, bullpen to the offense. Everyone did their job today. No one was overstretched or anything like that. Everyone did what they needed to do. And even with a struggling Francisco Lindor, who has yet to provide pretty much anything for the Mets this season, aside from his one breakout game against the Cincinnati Reds because he was taking advantage of the southpaw lefty-righty matchup, this Mets team is now starting to fire on all cylinders, and it could not come at a better time, folks. After the horrendous first stretch of games we saw this season, many Mets fans, after starting the year 1-5, were like, okay, I'm already checked out with the team. I feel like you're starting to be pulled back in a little bit, just like Aiden was saying in the chat, right? It feels inevitable that that's going to happen naturally when the Mets, again, win 2 out of 3 against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. Right? That stands out to me even more. It's not just the fact that this is a Mets team that won 2 out of 3 against the Braves. It's the fact that they won 2 out of 3 against the Braves in Atlanta, which is anything but an easy thing to do. The Mets only did that once, actually. The Mets won 1 series in Atlanta in the 2022 season. It was earlier in the year, if my memory serves me correct. They won 2 out of 3 comfortably there, and then, of course, the next time that they were in Atlanta, things did not fare as well. And then the third time, things fared even worse in a more horrific fashion, not heroic. Exactly, Wardy. That's why I respect what y'all are doing. Jedi, thank you so much for the kind words, brother. I really appreciate that. Wardy, what's your opinion on Lindor moving to leadoff? I just don't see that happening. I think especially with the lineup they're producing the way it is right now, while I want Pete Alonso to be batting third, I want him higher in the order. I want him to have more at-bats. There is no denying when production is production, and the Mets are 100% going to ride the hot hand a bit. Mendy said it himself pregame today that he wants to find some consistency in the Mets lineups. We know the Mets had a great amount of success with Marte in 2022 with him there. They're going back to that philosophy for the most part, and now the only difference that'll probably be is once JD Martinez is here in the next couple weeks, you're going to hopefully see him batting cleanup or fifth every single day. Alvarez right behind him or right in front of him, and then you're going to have Brett Beatty. So before you know it, the Mets 1 through 6, 1 through 7 can easily become one of the deeper ones in all of the National League. As long as you just have the guys performing and firing on all cylinders the way that they're supposed to. You lost years off your life. I'm 63. I'm lucky to be alive, says Mark. And see, Mark gets it. You get it, Mark. You've been through hell and back. How many Mets fans, by a show of hands in the chat right now, how many of you Mets fans have been Mets fans for at least 30 plus years? Let me know in the chat right now. I'm really curious. By a show of hands, how many Mets fans do we have in here that have been here for 30 plus years, riding strong with the team? I know we got fans that have been here literally since its inception back in the early 60s, but regardless, let's start the bar decently low. 30 years of fandom. How many hands we got in the chat right now? People on Twitter, let me see it too. Just know that for all my viewers on Twitter, as always, I'm only going to be interacting currently at least with the live chat on YouTube. Down the line throughout the season, things may change depending on what happens with everything I get set up. And we will be taking callers, folks, soon enough. We're not taking them today, unfortunately, but I promise you we will be doing them soon. I assure you. Still getting things figured out. The doubleheader, unfortunately, not doubleheader. The rain postponement yesterday kind of threw off my schedule on my end a bit. I was expecting initially doubleheader today. We find out just the one game still. I had to do a Bleacher Report show right before today's game as well, so not too much time to get everything set up for when the show was going to happen today. So apologies on my end for that. But another thing too, folks, I posted it on the community tab. Your boy was on Bleacher Report earlier. BR Walkoff on socials will probably post graphics about it later if they haven't already. But I broke down 4 early blockbuster trade proposals for the 2024 regular season. And yes, I did throw a little Mets bias in there. I don't do it too often when I do the BR stuff, but I did today for good reason because they've been connected in the past, and I'm sure they will be again by the deadline. The Miami Marlins are going to be full sellers by the trade deadline, folks. So today, I discussed why Jesus Luzardo and the Mets make plenty of sense. So check that out. That was one of the 4 proposals that I had. All you got to do is go to the Bleacher Report app, and then when you go to the side and you pick, topics or teams, type in MLB rumors, click there, scroll down a little bit, you'll find out, potential blockbuster trades for the season. You'll find me there. Again, it's linked on the community tab too on YouTube, so you can check that out. Easy way to click on it after watching the live show. Thank you all so much in advance. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we got a lot of show of hands. This is what I mean. There are a bunch of people in here that have been diehard fans for at least 30 years. I'm 26 and but I age in dog years, so yes, that's me. That's fair, David. I respect that. SR with the $5 holla. SR, thank you so much. He says, so Stewart is waking up. What do you do with JD? I mean, you put JD in the lineup. Stewart can heat up all he wants. That's great. Let's also not forget on who Stewart is kind of heating up against. Like, the first bomb he had in the series was great, but he also had that first bomb against Pierce Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. Today, he got a great bomb, which was awesome, but he still got against Allen Winans. I'm thinking big picture here. And while DJ, I love the production, DJ, JD Martinez, you didn't sign the guy to platoon with DJ Stewart for a good portion of the season. You signed the guy because he's coming off of a 30 home run, 100 RBI season as one of the best sluggers in Major League Baseball. Just had the cortisone shot put in the back. He's feeling nice and loose. Get a couple days of rest up. Then he's going to do a couple more rehab games, and then he'll be back with the Mets here and finally make his long away debut, hopefully sometime over the next week or two. So that's what's going to happen then. But until then, DJ Stewart, of course, will get the bulk of time at the DH position. Mark Vientos continues to rake in AAA, which is awesome to see, but he is not a guy that's going to be rushed up right now with how the team's currently operating, what they have depth-wise at the moment, and JD Martinez still having yet to be with the club, unless things drag on for a month or two, which, again, would be the worst-case scenario imaginable for JDM. Hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Should that not happen, the Mets are not going to rush up on Mark Vientos at all. They want him to get continued defensive reps. They do not want to give him defensive reps at third base with the way Brett Beatty's playing right now, and they do not want to mess up that kind of rhythm whatsoever. So Vientos is going to continue being AAA for the time being until something changes, and JD Martinez, once he is ready, he will be here with the Mets. Let's see. Pat, thank you so much for the donation. Hate to gloat, but what the hell? If the Braves suck, give me a hell yeah. Pat, thank you for the $5 holla. It's a fun time to gloat. Because look, Braves fans know how we rationally feel about the Braves. We despise the Braves. We are not a fan of the Braves whatsoever because we know how damn good the Braves are. Okay? This is not an elephant in the room situation. This is common sense. So when we act in this manner, know that we're reacting this way also because of how much we appreciate the fact that our Mets, with lesser expectations this year, had themselves the best series in a year and a half, literally, as an organization, and it came against one of our biggest rivals in their stadium that they have broken our hearts so many times. We deserve this, Mets fans. We have been through hell and back. Braves fans, while you don't have the championship pedigree to flex aside from 2021 for the past how many years, what you do have is consistency at the regular season level. Almost a newfound appreciation where you guys are spoiled a lot of the times with your regular season production. Us Mets fans, far from it. So we are going to take these moral victories. We are going to take a massive series win like this because every game counts in a year you're pushing for playoffs, and it feels that much sweeter when you do it again against the big bad Braves. We react this way because we have a respect for the organization. While we might hate them and despise them, we respect how they are ran because they do things properly, led by AA there. So I would just like to emphasize that and make that very, very clear. Us Mets fans go through hell and back. They deserve this type of treatment more than anyone else. Let's see here, though, folks. I addressed that. Pat Benson now, everybody. With that being said, that is not going to stop the electric vibes here on the show, folks. So with me, on 3, give me a hell yeah if the Braves suck, right? 1, 2, 3. Hell yeah! Spam it in the chat right now, baby. All my Mets fans, roughly 500 of you watching live on YouTube. To all my viewers watching on Twitter, same applies. It doesn't matter if I see your comment or not. Continue to spam them. I want to see them. Give me a hell yeah after a Metropolitan decimating victory over, yes, the Hotlanta Braves by a final score of 16-4. And I did ask you guys, too, who is my player of the game? Who is my player of the game? It's a great question because there's a lot of awesome talents here. Latest poll among Mets fans, Justin, the Lindor, the Lindor is New York's favorite player. Oh, a lot of Mets fans love Lindor, but he's also probably one of, not the most controversial guy currently on the roster with just how fans react. Speaking of Lindor, folks, we got that home series against the Royals. I expect to see a standing O, guys. Just because Lindor's playing like trash doesn't mean you should rain the booze on him. Do what Steve Cohen is saying. If you're attending games, highly implore you all to hype up the man too. Because if you can do that, guys, and he responds positively to it, the only benefit that comes out is him playing better. Yes, coloring me shocked. It's almost like it isn't a bad idea to uplift your players when they're struggling early on. Especially with a player who's receiving death threats sent to his effing wife because of some of the biggest assholes unfortunately have to be Mets fans in this community, even though I certainly do not claim them. I don't know about you. But Lindor, I would love to see a standing O. It worked with Trey Turner in Philly. It worked with Alec Bowman in Philly. Again, why not? That's my counter. For everyone want to be stubborn and saying, why should I feel the need to cheer or root or do anything for that nature for our shortstop that's making $341 million? I don't know. Maybe if you're an actual Mets fan and you want them to win and you want them to be better than what they are, maybe not putting yourself first in the equation thinking, oh, I need to have the moral high ground. It's about the players being better. They need to get their head out of their ass. It doesn't matter how I react. They should be able to deal with it all. They're still human at the end of the day. I know, again, color me shocked again. Might be hard to comprehend for some of you. Literally, you saw what happened with David Bednar and Rowdy Tellez just a couple nights ago in Pittsburgh. Bednar gives up the save. It's blown. He's his first 4 save appearances. 3 of them have been blown so far this season. Boos were rained on him in Pittsburgh. What does Rowdy Tellez do post-game? He puts his arm around him right away and tells the media, this is the heart of Pittsburgh. We are going to be rooting for these guys. We know they're so much better than what we're getting right now. We're not going to take that shit. The same should go with the Mets. I love that kind of accountability, and that is what I hope that Mets fans, again, can just bring a standing O, because what do you have to lose? If you want to boo Lindor, don't come complaining when he continues to struggle, because maybe he is in his head mentally a little bit from the left side of the plate after getting unlucky, and also just having some lackadaisical at-bats, first pitch swinging, things of that nature. That is what I'll leave you with on that front. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a bad thing for trying to get the best out of your players, and yes, fans do have an impact. That's why when things go right, we know how electric it gets at Citi Field. We have seen the Mets take advantage of a fantastic home ballpark when things are going right, especially in points of the 2022 season. Thinking about that Atlanta Braves series, that 4-game set where everyone and their mother turned up for it, and it was a tremendous time. They will rally around us if we just put forth a little effort on our end. If you're already going to spend the money for the tickets, if you're going to spend money for the parking, if you're going to spend money on the beers, if you're going to spend money on everything, you might as well just stand there, get a little ovation, because you could be the difference maker in a Francisco Lindor getting out of his slump sooner than maybe what he initially would if it's just booze raining on him left and right at Citi Field. That's what I got to say. That's what I'm not telling you to cheer for him every single at-bat or anything like that. I'm just saying for the first at-bat, it never hurts. Hype up the man a little bit and just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then okay. Go back to doing whatever you want to do. But at least then you could say, I put effort in. I did what felt like should have been done. It didn't work. It is what it is. Now you move forward. Let's see, folks. Now, I did say it earlier, but I'll say it again. I teased for a while on who my player of the game is going to be. But guys, I honestly think for this one, there are a lot of great options, and Harrison Bader too, 2 for 5 with 3 runs scored. Great job today, Harrison. Not rounding first. I want to see more of that. Jeff McNeil, guys. McHits is my player of the game. He has to be today. Jeff McNeil looks so good today, and I have been a heavy critic of Jeff's as a player. As a player over the past year or so. I will always appreciate Jeff. I'm happy for the relationship I built with him when I was at his charity event last year. Great human being. Met him and Alonzo, got a chance to interview both for a short time. And Jeff, great guy, but I will say this. We know the frustration with Jeff. We know what he does wrong, and we know when he does things wrong, and it's amplified. He gets emotional, and things drag on for way too long. Jeff McNeil came out today and came out swinging in a way that we just really haven't seen this season. Even his bomb against the Reds, he had some piss poor at-bats prior to that. He just barreled one, no doubt, home run to right. That's not the McNeil that we love and covet. We love and covet the McNeil that can play all over the place, 1. But 2, offense. Slapping the ball opposite field, putting it where they ain't. That's something that we saw very few with McNeil over the past year, but I feel like in today's game as well, to get the clutch double down the line and driving a couple runs, right? To bring in, going gap to gap, to go and do those singles, to just provide the overall offensive plate approach that we want, and not a guy that's quickly on an 0-2 count after taking 2 fastballs down the pipe and then hacking away and then swinging out just nonsense that you shouldn't be swinging for whatsoever, where it's going to be a clear ground ball there to first or a ground ball to second, whatever it may be. McNeil was locked in today, and I feel that he is deserving of being my player of the game. Again, you guys can make your pick. Literally, I know that I don't have him there listed, but Brandon Nimmo, you could throw him in that mix. Tyrone Taylor, if you want to call it a freaking Grand Salami off of the former Met, Luis Gourmet. Pete Alonso had a solid day. Francisco Alvarez with a couple RBIs himself. Alvy looked fantastic. Alvy's batting right around 300 with an 819 OPS. DJ Stewart with the bomb again, batting a cool 105. Literally unfortunately, like only 2 hits this year, home runs, but we take that. And Brett Beatty, 1 for 5, not complaining there. Again, got the Mets offense started today with that opposite field RBI single to first. Again, that early lead can be a killer for opposing teams. Even a Braves team that we know can rally back so well is awesome to get up early and often. So Starling Marte, 2 for 5. Take your pick. Take your pick. But I am going to go with Jeff McNeil here. I loved, and I mean loved, what I saw from him today. Great outing, to say the least. What's up, all things Mets? Happy to have you in here. My man, Ibby, at Till Mets Do Us Part. Ain't it sweet? It is fantastic, my man. Matt, happy to have you in here. Make sure to check out both All Mets Do Us, Till Mets Do Us Part with my man, Matt, Ibby, and of course, John Sapernaro. Make sure to check them out, guys, wherever you get podcasts. And All Things Met Talk here on YouTube. All Things Mets Talks. Awesome group of ladies. They do a fantastic job breaking down the Mets too. So again, if you want to hear other Mets minds as well, aside from mine, which I know many of you do, because it's an awesome space. We have a huge community with a lot of amazing fans. Make sure to check them out too. Thank you all so much in advance. SR, great members. Let's see here what you got from me. Bobby G, what's up? Great member. Went to my first game in 70. There you go, Bobby G. Again, we got seasoned vets in here, and I love to see that. I love the diversity of fandom that we get in these live shows. It really pumps me up when I see, like, people still in high school. Sometimes we even get middle schoolers, 8th grade, etc. And then we also get people that literally have been diehard fans that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I've had a tremendous wide range of fans reach out to me over the years since I started this. And I think that's one of the things I love and appreciate most about after big games like this, just having natural reactions as fans, because it doesn't matter what age you are. You're all still a kid inside. This is a kid's game that we have a pleasure and a privilege to watch. For me, I have a privilege and a pleasure to do this for a living, talking about my favorite team playing a child's game, basically. But it's just, I love the community interaction. It does get me pumped up like no tomorrow, guys. It does. And just look at Brett. Look at the opposite field hitting. High fastball, no problem. He's just such a dog. He really is, guys. And, when you look at what Brett has done so far this season, it's looked great. Jose Quintana, we talked about him today. Drew Smith, I got to give a lot of props to Drew Smith today, too, everybody. If I was going to pick, my stand on the pitching end, Jose Quintana, while he wasn't bad, Drew Smith is just continuing to defy the odds, shut up the haters, and prove us wrong. Drew Smith has went from a guy that was throwing straight meatballs what felt like all of last year for the most part to now having a red hot start to the season. And what I'm loving most about Drew Smith is not just the fact that he's getting zeros, it's the fact that he's been utilized more often than not in situations to help and an inning, get out of a jam that he did not start himself. This is a Drew Smith that in years past struggled mightily to come in for a starter or a fellow reliever to get out of their jams for them. Not the case with Drew Smith so far this season. He has done a tremendous job in doing exactly that. And then to follow it up with a clean inning right afterwards too without a problem against this Braves team, I'm taking that every single day of the week. So again, shout out so much to Drew Smith. Great game today, but how he is getting these outs in the high leverage situations that he is. Because again, you got pressure on your shoulders right away to pick up Jose Quintana in that spot, right? And then not get more runs charged on him, because then you feel bad. And then for him, it's like, okay, I'm already in a jam where there's a guy in first or a guy in first and second, and he has handled it beautifully to start the season. There's something different about Drew Smith. Funny enough, it's not just the lack of supermodel interaction. It just feels like we got a Drew Smith now that has a comfortability to him that we haven't necessarily seen as much in years past. And again, not hanging that meatball right down the plate's important. Breaking ball, same applies. Those are the things we love to see. Let's see how much in advance. I do see here, also with Senga News and Tehran, I've talked so much about Bauer. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It isn't. The Mets are calling up Jose Buto for the Royals series, folks. So that's your filler there in regards to the rotation. And I'm more than fine with that. He's looked fantastic, Buto. Very happy with what I've seen from him. I'm excited to see more. Christian Scott, everybody. I wanted to talk about him actually initially in the beginning of the show because this was off of his performance from yesterday. But after an insane game the Mets had today, I'm going to talk about it now after I broke down things. Christian Scott went 5 innings of one run ball, 5 or 6 yesterday, 10 strikeouts. He has 19 strikeouts in his first 9 innings or so of work at the AAA level. When asked about Christian Scott today, Carlos Mendoza put it pretty much blunt and clear. Yeah, we're keeping a close eye on him. It's really hard not to when he's pitching the way he is. So, as I tweeted yesterday, and I'll reiterate again to you all, it's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, rather, Christian Scott will be impacting the Mets rotation this year. It's a matter of when. And with the way that things are currently going, I will not be shocked if Christian Scott is in this Mets rotation at some point in the next 2 months. That is how good Christian Scott is looking early. He has been the high riser in the Mets farm pitching-wise. He's their top prospect. The guy's filthy. And you want to know what I love so much about Christian Scott? He's not overly reliant on his velo. He's not a guy where you need him out there consistently touching 97 to 100 to get his quality outs. His off-speed and breaking pitches are tremendous, and he sits 95 on the gun comfortably there with his heater. So you're getting a healthy array of pitches, and you're getting a Christian Scott that has been a strikeout machine at an unbelievable rate so far throughout his first 9 innings or so. 2 starts here this season that we have seen for the Syracuse Mets. So keep an eye on him, folks. Christian Scott, it's a matter of when, not if, he makes his Mets debut this season the next couple months and has a significant impact potentially on the rotation. This is a Christian Scott, folks, that very well could be a make or break for the Mets and potentially buying or selling by the deadline for pitching, and could furthermore be a reason why the Mets may crack the wild card if he comes in and his guns ablazing as the type of starter we have been hoping and longing for internally. The Mets really haven't had too much. We've had our flashes of brilliance, of course, with the Tyler McGills, the Jose Butus. I'm excited to see more out of him. But when it comes to top pitching prospects, we haven't seen anyone really break out for the Mets in a number of years as a top pitching prospect. Christian Scott has become that for us. He's quickly becoming one of the top prospects in Major League Baseball on the pitching front, and he is hopefully going to take the world by storm once he's up here. He has a 4 ERA. That's okay, though. It's how he's looking right now. The stuff is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It is not going to take him long to get to the bigs. The only reason why it may take Christian Scott a little bit longer than maybe he should be to get to the major league level is because the Mets have so many options before him, 1, and 2, they don't want to necessarily rush up a guy when they don't need to yet. When Christian Scott is ready and when the Mets feel he should be in this rotation is when they'll bring him up. I wasn't impressed by Buto last season. He was forced up early, but he really put in a lot of work and came into the season and proved much impressed with his work and progression. 100%. Not only when it comes to Jose Buto, the course of last season, again, he wasn't the sexiest last year. His walk rate was an issue with Buto, but he worked a lot in the offseason too. I like the flashes we saw from him last year as an innings eater, and now either as a starter or, a multi-innings relief guy like a Trevor Williams, Jose Buto is going to be a really strong addition for this Mets rotation this year. I got a lot of confidence in that too. I just think he's going to eat plenty of innings for the Mets, more than a lot of fans maybe initially realize. Short was in the game in the 9th. Yes, he was, Steve. I'm aware of that. Thank you. Initially someone said that Zach Short got cut, but I do not see anything on Twitter to indicate that at this current moment. It was all just people talking about Zach Short in general and stuff like that when he could be sent down, but he has been sent down at this point in time. Let's see here. Thanks, Tyler. Good win against the Braves. Let's continue this stretch against Kansas City. Have a good one, Room. And as always, LFGM. LFGM Enzo, thank you so much for chiming in. I really appreciate that. Saying Scott will lead the Mets to the playoffs. Wouldn't that be something? That'll give me chills. Don't get me too excited. We love Joe DeMayo here too, absolutely. What happens first? Trevor Bauer sign or Lindor hits 200. Lindor hits 200 every single day of the week. Trevor Bauer is not signing with the Major League Baseball team anytime soon. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Not on my personal beliefs of him or anything like that, just on understanding how the game currently views him and is operating. Trevor Bauer's chances to be in the bigs this year, I feel like have already been shot down. He's done pretty much everything he possibly could. He's went out of his way. He's traveled to multiple countries just to play on these bum teams for the most part, to perform against these organizations in these promo games, and they still aren't batting an eye to him. He's getting no phone calls out of it, nothing. So yeah, if I'm a betting man, and I absolutely am, I am hammering Francisco Lindor 200 average well before Trevor Bauer is on a major league roster and towing the rubber again at the major league level. Not a chance in hell I think that happens before Lindor. Not a chance. Let's see. Just answer that, Priest on the plane. And it is fitting coming from you, because I know that you've been very much on the anti-Lindor front regarding these kind of things, from the comments I've seen, at least, if I'm not mistaken. But guys and gals, that is about going to do it for the live show here. We're going to wrap things up here shortly. I will just take a couple more questions, comments you got for me. But again, thank you all so much for chiming in again. Mets win by a final score of 16-4 today, and is headlined by fantastic work from this entire lineup as a whole. You see the stats there, but I'll run them off too that I see here on Baseball Savant just to expand a little bit more. WardyNYM once again today, 2 for 5 with a double, a triple, and 2 RBIs. Tyrone Taylor coming in as a pinch hitter off Luis Gourmet. Hits a grand salami there, which is just insane. Starling Marte, 2 for 5 with 2 runs scored, a stolen base or 2. Francisco Lindor was the one batter today to have 6 at-bats and only have 1 hit as well. 1 for 6 with a run scored for Lindor, who's not even batting 100 yet, with a sub-400 OPS, and yes, that's bad. Pete Alonso, 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored today. He's batting 220 with a 711 OPS. Love to see that. Brandon Nimmo's batting 233 with an 842 OPS. Tyrone Taylor's 300 with an 831 OPS. Starling Marte's a 271 average and a 694 OPS. Let's see. Pete Alonso is, talked about him. Brett Beatty, 1 for 5, 311 average, 732 OPS. Francisco Alvarez, 2 for 5, 2 runs scored, a double, and 2 RBIs. He had himself a 297 average and an 819 OPS. Jeff McNeil, 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, and that clutch double with the 2 runs coming in out of the 3 RBIs and 2 walks, a 200 average and a 647 OPS. DJ Stewart, 1 for 5, of course, with a solo, not solo, but his 1 hit was a 2-run home run, 105 average and a 791 OPS on the season. Truly doing his best Kyle Schwarber impression. From the gap from average to OPS is absurd there. Harrison Bader, 2 for 5 with 3 runs scored, his best day as a Met so far, 257 average with a 535 OPS on the season for Harrison Bader, who decided not to round first this time. You'll love to see it. Scott, I would appreciate if you just keep that opinion to yourself. That's perfectly fine if you don't like him, but it doesn't mean that you got to shoot down the bonus to others that are definitely taking advantage and having a great time with them. To each their own. Sorry that you're not loving it, but I appreciate you still going the ways to sign up if you did, and thank you so much in advance for that. Will Taylor take over center field duties? In part, for sure. For sure. The Royals are a beasting. You got us winning this weekend. It's going to be a tough one. I'll say that. It is going to be a tough one regarding the Kansas City Royals. Bobby Witt Jr. is playing out of his mind. The Royals are on a absolute heater right now. You cannot understate them. And truthfully, I have more pessimism in that series. Not as much because of who they're playing, but because we're at Citi Field. And because we've had such bad juju throughout the first 2 series there. And because while the weather still looks nice this weekend, you know, it's still early Citi Field, which has not been a batter's ballpark versus others. It's definitely more of a pitcher's park. I have my concerns. I think there's a world where the Mets lose this series 2 out of 3 for sure. But after winning this series against Atlanta, you got to be riding 2 hot teams right now, and the Royals and the Mets off their last couple series. Hopefully the Mets can best them and win 2 out of 3. You guys and gals are going to see with your very eyes, why Bobby Witt Jr. is going to go down as the best, if not certainly, again, a top 3 shortstop in baseball this season, with the way he will likely play against our Metropolitans this series. If you haven't watched much Bobby Witt this year, start to lock in. The guy is unbelievable. He does it all. Such a fantastic 5-tool player, and one that I 100% deem as a MVP potential favorite there in the AL. That's how much I love him as a potential pick. And on top of that, he is going to go down as, if not the best shortstop in all of baseball this year, then certainly one of, because he was last year. In my opinion, he was a top 4 shortstop in the game last season. I think he'll be top 2 or 3 this year with the way that he's already looking. Love me, Bobby Witt Jr., and you should too. Hopefully he just doesn't rake against us too much this season, series rather, coming up, but I digress. That is going to do it for the show, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for the kind words. The Metropolitans win a massive one. Danny, thank you so much too, by a final score of 16-4. We will be back live, more than likely, for pregame coverage, hopefully tomorrow. If not, then certainly just postgame coverage. Again, pregames fluctuate a little bit on the day-to-day based on scheduling and based on, heading into the weekend, but we are going to get more of a consistency going soon enough where we're going to be giving you pregames at least 4 times a week, if not more, and that'll be reoccurring. And then watch parties once I have everything done on that front, because they're still working on it. Once that is all set up and looking pretty, I will have watch parties at least once a week for you all too. So be on the lookout. Stay tuned. We'll be live again later tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is your boy Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby.